Howdy folks, Grizz here and welcome back for part 17, really, part 7 of the epic gun cart build. Yeah, this seems to be dragging on. Anyway, as promised in my comment for part 6, I'm going to kind of go through what went wrong when I drilled those holes at an angle between the uprights, actually between the handlebars and the uprights. So let me get this camera on my head and we'll take a look at the cart. You'll remember what I did is I went ahead and drilled the holes in the uprights so I could set the T-nuts there, and I did drill those holes after that was put together. Obviously the best solution is don't do that. Go ahead and drill those on the drill press rather than doing it freehand after that's put together. Okay, for starters, that's one thing. But even if I had done that and those holes were straight, I still could have messed it up, and quite possible I would have. And I think a big reason of that is my selection of drill bits. So here we have what I used, a different size, but I got the big one to show you. This is a Forstner bit, and a Forstner bit is great for having nice smooth walled holes. But when you're using it freehand, if you get it started, because there's no support on the shaft, it's easier to get that tilted, especially if you're in confined spaces, perhaps working around clamps, which I was, using an angle drill that's easy to get off. So that wouldn't have been a good choice, although it's what I chose. And one reason I chose it is it has that nice center point there that I could use to countersink my 1 inch, and then using the same center point do my 1/2 inch for the barrel of the T-nut, and then using that same center point use the 3/8 for the bolt. So if a Forstner bit, this is ideal for doing the countersinks, for countersinking for the T-nut and even for the barrel, but it would be best done on a drill press. Now as far as doing the hole for the 3/8, in your first piece, if you're doing it on a drill press, Forstner bit would be fine. If you're doing it freehand, if you go to a regular twist drill, you notice you don't have an exact point there. It's kind of fairly big and would be prone to wander. This will definitely hog out the material, and it does have the advantage of it's a straight shaft, so it's going to be harder to wander if you get started going straight. What my choice would be a brad point bit, and you see you have a nice sharp point, so once you had that point from your Forstner bit, you could follow up with this, get that registered in, and just go on through. It has the thick sides, so it's harder to get through. Another little trick that I was reminded of would be to, if you have to drill a hole freehand and you're worried about it getting crooked, first of all, drill a hole in on your drill press, and we'll just grab these and pretend this is a solid block of wood. So if you drilled a hole on your drill press that you knew was straight perpendicular, so then when you get to your workpiece, take your little alignment block over, stick your drill bit through, get that brad point on the center, and then you can bring this down to the workpiece, and then you're already started straight, and it's going to be harder to wander as you drill through. So hopefully that makes sense. And terminology wise, that's just what I call them. You know, I think that's twist drill, brad point, and Forstner bit. Okay, Today has been kind of an interesting day. I wound up taking the day off for my day off this week. Went up to the mountains, got my son's car towed down because the clutch went out, got it to the shop. Got home, had to change a flat tire on my truck, took it down to get repaired, and found out that the tires are 10 years old and rotting and cracking down at the base of the treads and no good. So that's 4 tires for a big truck and money I don't want to spend. So I decided to come out to the shop. First of all, I mocked up my little handlebar box. And I did it to width. And, you know, clipped the corners. I'll probably wind up rounding over those. Just because I can. And then I came over to the cart, which happens to roll really nice, so I don't have to go all the way over. And I said, okay, is that going to work? I want it to contact this part just so it has a positive stop when it's in its upright position. So then it would pivot there, and as you tip your cart to push it, it's going to pivot with you so your drinks don't spill, your shotgun shells don't come out. And it's not too close to this. On my cart, it may get kind of close, because I decided if I'm going to build one for this cart, I'm building one for mine. You can see mine on through there, I think. And I don't have quite the length on the push bar supports, but I'm going to put one on there anyway. I may need to round this off more so I can have it tighter into that, because it's also going to be lower. But anyway, so after that, what I did is I, like everything, you know, figured out my dimensions, side to side, front to back, whatever. You saw this before, but what I went ahead and did is came up with a cut list. And then I started pulling the wood that I had that I wanted to use and realized that in order to make this work, I was going to have to get 48 inches roughly of usable pieces out of a piece of lumber that was 48.5 inches long. And each time you cut it with the saw, you lose 1/8 of an inch for that saw curve. And I came through and got the pieces I needed with maybe a whisker to spare. I had to be really careful and make sure my dimensions were right the first time I cut it on the miter sled here. Anyway, this is the box for my cart, and obviously the ends will have the corners clipped. They'll have a hole through each end like this. Here, we'll just take that down and put this up so you get the idea there how that'll sit. These will of course have the holes drilled in them for the drinks. There's internal dividers to keep anything from the center getting over around the drinks. I'll have drain holes underneath the drinks in case they sweat a little bit, but there's room for at least 2 boxes of shotgun shells. Other things you might want, video camera, still camera, whatever, is probably what I'll use. I'll probably use 1 box of shotgun shells and then have a place for my cameras. The one for Buick and Calico's cart, just because it is a monster beast, is actually going to be a little bit wider, as you can see here, and just because you can. So it will have room for easily 2 boxes of shotgun shells and then, you know, a camera or whatever. So anyway, I'm rambling on, but it's nice to come out and cut some parts and lay them out and see how they're going to come together after an otherwise somewhat frustrating day. So I'll leave you with that and break for dinner. I don't know what it is in these video sequences. I'm always breaking for dinner. Anyway, Grizz out. I'll talk to you soon. Maybe after I have this all put together and installed on a cart. Welcome back, Grizz here. What I'm working on now is the ends of the little handlebar box, swinging box, and The bottom will set in here, sides in there, and the little drink thing will set in there. And I'm working with 3/8 inch stock, and you see that's still not 3/8 inch wide. So what I'm doing is just using my table saw and running it over my table saw multiple times to get to the width that I need. So I need just maybe another 1/16, and I'd like these to be snug, but I don't care if they're a touch weak or loose. So anyway, I'll get that set up and go from there, and then when I'm done, I'll locate where my hole is going to be, and then I'll clip my corners like our prototype, remember, and then see about maybe getting these dudes put together. And then I think I'll wait for another time to locate the holes and actually do a test install, because drilling holes into those handlebars, I want to make sure I get right, and it's been a long day, so I don't want to screw it up. Back after a bit, maybe after I get one of these put together. Welcome back. Here's a little fixture I threw together real quick for drilling the holes, and as you can see, I'm using this circle cutting bit, and you don't want to be trying to hold this by hand when that dude starts spinning around, because it'll eat you up. So I did this to hold it on 3 sides. All I have to do is keep it pushed into it there and drill my hole. And then when you're done, you wind up with a nice circle, which after I cut the first one I discovered was not perfectly centered, but it's close enough. And actually it's not supposed to be centered this way because this part goes into a dado, but it's not perfectly centered this way, but I will call that a design feature and make them all match. So as you can see, bottle of Gatorade fits in there real nice. I'll throw a nice round over on there, and away we go. Back later. Okay, so right. And the camera's still on. No. Desk. One hint with doing a round over. There wasn't, with this bit, there wasn't enough on the bearing to do the full profile, but I did get a little bit. And when I started out, I was trying to keep repositioning my hands and turn the workpiece, but you really don't. You just take it and move the whole workpiece around the bit like that. I've since moved the bit back up, which is why that wouldn't go all the way in. Anyway, learn from my mistakes, and hey, I'll turn the camera off this time. I'll bet you hope I edit out that half an hour of me talking to myself running machines and not seeing any parts. Here's the ends to the little drink caddies. Nice, huh? One handlebar box done, one to go. This is the one for my cart. I figured I'd do it, fine-tune my technique before doing it for Cartzilla over there, which is looking pretty good. At any rate, these will go through the handlebars with a T-nut on the inside to tighten it down. I actually may need to get different bolts depending on the thickness of my uprights, but anyway, so these will just stick through into the cart box. Uh-oh. Wife just slammed the door on me. And then when you tip it back, say it's up here, and you tip the cart back, that box is going to stay perfectly level, no matter what you do. I mean, it'll swing if you make it swing, but if you're just tipping, it's going to rotate on those bolts. And ain't that just the slickest thing? Okay, that's all for tonight. I will do the other one tomorrow, get this one mounted to my cart so I can have it to shoot on Saturday, weather permitting. Later. Howdy folks, it's Grizz back here in the gun cart garage. And here's what I've been up to tonight. We'll start out with a little refresher and preview of the gun cart build. You can see we have the handlebars on now. It will tip back real easy, pretty much with one hand. And, you know, the balance is good. But what I want to show you tonight is the Grizzly Dave, maybe I should patent it, gun cart drink caddy. Now this is the upright to my cart, outside of the bottom of course. And what we have is we have a bolt going through each of this side. On the inside we have a T-nut which will hold that bolt snug. And that bolt extends into the drink caddy here, so that when it's standing up, you can just get your drink. You can reach in, get your shotgun shells. And it's kind of hard from the chair holding it up at the same time. You can get your one-shot case lube, although I don't know why you'd have that at the range anyway. But you're done shooting the stage, and it's time to go to the next stage. And what the heck? Let's just be brave here, shall we? Let's say you opened up a brand new box of shotgun shells and you just had it in there so you can grab them easy next stage. And you want to tilt back your cart. Tilt away. Your shotgun shells aren't going to spill. They're going to stay right in there. Your drinks aren't going to spill. That's going to stay level. Get to the next stage. Put your cart back in the upright and locked position. And everything is right there ready for you. And why, yes, I am pretty tickled with myself. I need to do some sanding on this one and get a coat of oil on it because I have a match Saturday if the weather cooperates. And then here's the one for the cart I'm building, which actually gave me the idea. And it's a little wider, as you can see. So it actually has room for 3 boxes of shotgun shells. But it's a couple shooting and they shoot different sizes, so that will actually work out well. Anyway, that's all for this episode. Stay tuned for more from Grizzly Dave in the Gun Cart Garage. Hope to see you down the trail. Until then, watch your top knot. Okay, here we are with 1 coat of hand-rubbed Danish oil. It makes the oak match the golden oak stain on the rest of the cart a little bit better. But, and granted this will be up higher. Let's see if you can see that. And of course it won't swing as much with a little weight in it, but it will keep your shotgun shells from coming out and your drinks from spilling. And I figured I might as well put it on the cart to let that oil dry. On the other one, I think what I will do is after everything's finished, is I'll put a couple of felt bumpers between the uprights and the drink caddy, just to keep it from clunking. when you reach the full upright and locked position. Anyway, that's all I got tonight. I'm tired. It's been a crappy day. I just wanted to come out and try to accomplish something, and I think I did. Not a great finish on there, but good enough for me. TTFN. Furnace is on. Must be time for a clip. Sorry for no update. It's been a while since I've actually been able to work on this. I had a match Saturday. It was a lot of fun. Had a little bit of snow. The drink caddy worked fantastically. Today, kind of stressed out about some car repair issues, so I took a mental health day. I got the panels trimmed to final dimensions for the box. Had an idea of maybe the lady of the couple this card is for is a quilter. Had an idea maybe she could make some quilt squares or something to go in there. So when I put this together, I'm just going to tack it, and then so it's easy to take apart at a later date if they decide to do that. Also, I'm not going to finish the inside of the box, so that if they do that, we can flip those panels around if need be, and so that the odors from the oil, if they put clothes in there, won't get there, because oil finishes do tend to smell. Also today, I've been working on a little tray that will go in that box, and basically what it will look like is this, with a plywood bottom, and that will ride on some rails in there, which I also have cut and ready to install. So the next step, and this will ride on the rails so it'll slide back and forth. You can keep your little stuff in this that you don't want to dig down and clear into the bottom of the Possibles box. And of course some nice roundovers and hand holdies, and this will be removable if you don't want it, but I thought it was a nice little touch. So anyway, I'm going to get busy. I'm going to sand this, get this assembled, get those panels tacked in, the rails put in so that this thing will slide, and then at that point, a few more small little details to get worked out and some final sanding, and we are getting ever so close to actually putting some finish on this thing. Back soon. Folks, been working on the Possibles box. Got the side panels just tacked in with some brads so they can be easily removable. Got the rails put in for the sliding Possibles box, and got the sliding Possibles box built. No fancy joinery, just glue and some brads. I really like the wood that I wound up using though, and put a couple of handholds in there, and that just slides back and forth so you can see down in there, get whatever you want out the bottom. But for the stuff that you're going to be using, shotgun shells, earplugs, what have you, it'll be up higher and kind of contained where it's not going to get mixed in with everything else down at the bottom. And down at the bottom you can have a little mini cooler. I position things so that Gatorade would still fit down there even if you have a bottom pad in there. It'll get closer, but it'll still fit. A box of shotgun shells will fit up here just fine. And didn't turn out quite as slick as I thought it would, but I think it's still very functional and very handy. Okay. Probably the next thing to get done is some final sanding so I can get finishing and get all my surfaces that are going to have mechanical catches or fasteners, get them fine-tuned, lined up. Got these holes to fine-tune, the screws to put in those, and Oh, the dowel to cut for the rifle retainer. Oh, and I do need to, I decided to clip these corners. You can see I have a pencil mark in there. Hope you can see that. But I'm going to clip those corners so that just because I like the way that'll look. Of course, without taking this whole thing apart, these cross members stand proud just a little bit. That could be a bit of an adventure, but no guts, no glory, right? Okay, I'm back after a while. Howdy folks, Chris here. It's early on Saturday morning, and not much gets me out of bed on a Saturday morning except for shooting matches and I guess shop time. I don't know, I woke up and couldn't get back to sleep, so figured I might as well get something done. Here's what I've got done since last time. I've gotten the plywood for the padded seat attached to the top, and the way I did that was with bolts and T-nuts. What I did is I cut my plywood 3/4 inch oversize and just used some scrap blocks all the way around to make sure it was basically even. Threw a couple of clamps on there and drilled my holes through. Installed my T-nuts and then bolted it together. So that's ready to go. We have a bunch of little tasks to get done today to get things ready to put some oil on. I'd better get to it. Okay, it's actually light out now. I spent the last 2 hours now fine-tuning the fit of the drink caddy to the handlebars, and what I'm doing now is I just clamped some scrap in there to make a little shelf to set it on to determine my height. And when I measured this out, I don't know what I was thinking, but I made this exactly as wide as the hole it had to fit into, which we're going to need a 1/16 on each side for the T-nuts and a little clearance so it rotates freely. So I sanded off a whole lot, and I'm not sure it fits, but it's a lot, it'll fit with the T-nuts anyway. But it's a lot closer now. So what I did now is I kind of got it roughly into position up as high as I wanted so the T-nuts aren't too close to the edge. I just used some scrap plywood down in there to set it back enough to where I can have a little bumper so it doesn't clonk around. And I used a center punch, which was the only thing long enough to go through that hole all the way to the upright, to just kind of mark my hole. And then what I'll do is I'll drill a hole small enough just for a nail, and then I will check measurements, make sure the other one is lined up right and not all cockeyed, because propping it up like this isn't exact. And drill a hole, put a nail through over there, make sure everything rotates freely before putting in my hole big enough for the bolts and the T-nuts. So we're getting there. Back in a bit. Stop the air cleaner so you can hear me. Okay, as you can see, I got the drink caddy on. It is not swiveling freely, which I had to work to get it to fit around those T-nuts. And I'm thinking that the T-nuts are still tight on the wood there, which is what's causing part of the problem. Another part of the problem may be that I'm slightly off angle, but I think I'm pretty good on that. Spent 3 hours getting this to fit because whoever measured it, that would be me, built it slightly too long. I didn't leave enough slop to account for the T-nuts and a little bit of play. So anyway, I need to take this back off and figure something out. I tried counter boring for those T-nuts just by hand. That did not go particularly well, but I may continue on that track, but we shall see. Anyway, but it's on there. It's just not swiveling freely the way I want it to. But once we get that taken care of, we can move forward. A little more sanding. Yeah, lungs full of dust. A little more fine tuning, and voila. She rotates well. Very cool. I like it. So just a few more things to tweak and take care of, and we're ready for a final sanding and an oil finish. Back to it. Okay, we're back. Sorry if it's a little dusty in the air. Just had the dust catcher pop off my sander. But anyway, since we last spoke, I fine-tuned where the handlebars meet the uprights and screwed in those T-nuts, and that goes together real slick. I made a little stand-up block there, which holds the cart in the upright and locked position. Even if you don't use the draw catches, which I'm going to install. I'm going to install two back here, and these surfaces didn't quite meet, so I did some sanding to where they are a lot closer and well within what the draw catch will handle. Next step is to take this beast apart. I'm going to clip the top corners on the uprights about an inch out from where the handlebars are, but at the same angle, so that should be cool. A little bit of an adventure going through the table saw, which I've already had one adventure with the table saw today, so not too much blood though. So anyway, back to it. We are really clipping those corners, and sanding is all I have left before I start putting some oil on this thing. So let's get this beast apart, clip those corners, and see how far we can get today. Back later. Getting closer all the time. Got the rod to hold the long guns done. As you can see, I had to do little modifications to the upright there. Just a little ramp there so that it would be long enough to hold them in, but so you could still get it in to the hole. And what I'll do is I'll drill a hole through that, put some kind of cord and a screw up under here, so when you're not using it, it just kind of dangles down here out of the way, but you don't lose it. Because, as I found out, trying to fit that, I cut it once and it was too long. I cut it again and it was too long. So I cut it twice, thinking, oh, that's not quite enough. And it was too short. Okay, that's really my waste from my second attempt. This is my first attempt, and it wound up, it was just hanging on by a thread. So I figured, since I had the extra dowel, I had to fix it. So anyway, the next step, as I told you before, is to clip the corners. I don't know if you can see my pencil lines here. Probably can see that one. I'm going to clip those with miter gauge on the table saw. I'll take the handlebars off, of course, and that is going to be a little bit interesting because, as you can see, our back pieces stand a little proud, which actually they were designed to, but I wasn't thinking that I was going to clip those corners. But I really don't want to take all of those off and hope that they go back on with everything square in the right place. So I'm going to get set up for that and determine if I can do it. Hopefully I can without any more bloodshed today. And as far as I know, I'll have to check my list inside on the computer. That is everything I have left before some sanding and some oil. So I'm hoping to get these clipped off and do some sanding, maybe round them over a bit, and maybe a little sanding yet tonight, but we'll see. Nothing major. And then tomorrow after church, maybe get a coat of oil on this. Back soon. Okay, I know I said I was going to use the miter gauge on the table saw, but I got that all set up, and it was nearly impossible to hold the entire piece tight to the miter gauge and slide it, and I was worried that I would screw it up. So what I've done is clamped a temporary fence the width of the deck of my circular saw, little battery one, and clamped the piece to the table saw top, and I'm going to cut it that way. Although when I get around to the other side, that may be interesting, but if nothing else, I can just transfer my line to the other side and go from there. Back when I get this done. Okay, there we go. Both of those corners clipped, and I like it. I remember before they just squared off up here, which looked a little awkward to me, but now with them clipped, it matches approximately the angle of the uprights, or the handlebars, and that, I believe, is the final cuts. All that is left is sanding and oil finish, and then put it together, put on latches, put on hinges, and upholster the seat. So all in all, I would say a productive day. I don't know about you all, but I like those corners clipped. Even more than I think I'd like them if they were rounded off, which would have been a whole lot more work. So anyway, I'm going to wrap part 7 here because I think it's already gotten long. So I will put out a part 8 that primarily will be showing this thing done. Maybe a few little segments putting in hinges and latches and, you know, applying oil. But I mean, how boring is it to watch somebody paint, basically? So we are getting close, and I like it. As I said before, this thing is a behemoth. It is a little bit heavy, and good thing it's a couples cart. Actually, if you take out the Possibles box, it's not bad at all. And the way I did the handlebars, it balances well, so it pushes even fully loaded. It pushes pretty darn well for as heavy as it is. So, but you know, leverage, momentum, all that kind of good engineering stuff, physics, whatever. So anyway, I'll show you my sweat sawdust stained face. Join us next time for part 8 of the epic gun cart build here in Grizz's Gun Cart Garage. I hope to see you down the trail, or back. for part 8. Until then, watch your top knot.